FNAF just isn't scary anymore. And no, that's not me saying the series is bad. I actually enjoyed a lot of the newer stuff. Security Breach, Help Wanted 2, even Secret of the Mimic had moments that surprised me. But that old feeling that we felt with the older games, it's mostly gone. The tension the first 5 games had, the kind that made you stare at the cameras like your life depended on it, and it just isn't there now. So the real question is, what changed? How did a franchise built on fear slowly drift into something else entirely? That's what I'm breaking down today, where FNAF lost its edge and why that shift matters more than people realize. So hey everybody, I'm Jeeps. Consider subscribing to support the channel. You guys are amazing, and with that said, let's begin. In order to really understand why FNAF feels so different today, you've got to rewind everything back to 2014, when the first game dropped out of nowhere and instantly took over the internet. One developer and one idea, and somehow he created an entire atmosphere so unnerving that people were scared before they even touched the cameras. That raw indie energy at the time wasn't just charm, it was the backbone of the fear that drove the franchise. But here's the interesting part. If you were to boot up FNAF 1 right now, this exact moment, I guarantee you it will not hit the same way, alongside some of the earlier games, not just FNAF 1. And it's not because the game got old, it's because something fundamental changed in how we experienced the series. Back then, Night 1 was terrifying simply because you had no idea what the rules were. Every movement, every noise, and the designs just felt like the game was whispering, "You're not safe," and you had no answers to answer any of your questions. And the more you played, the more questions you got as well. And honestly, that's exactly how horror works today too. VHS horror, PS1 style, high fidelity indie projects, some of my favorites, it doesn't matter. The scariest ones are always the ones where you step in blind, not knowing what the game is capable of or has to offer. That was FNAF in 2014, a brand new formula dropping game after game, month after month, building a world nobody understood yet, a completely new genre of horror being born in real time. But somewhere along the way, that feeling changed. And the reason it changed is the part that nobody could really hammer down. There was something about the first FNAF games that just felt different, scary almost. Maybe it was the realism surrounding an environment meant for children, or perhaps it was the unpredictability. Either way, that feeling made the games exhilarating and exciting. That same feeling from FNAF 1 didn't stop there either. It carried straight through FNAF 2, 3, 4, and even Sister Location. Every one of those games was at its scariest the first time you played it. But here's the part that doesn't really make any sense. If first time fear is the secret, then why aren't the new FNAF games terrifying on our first run? By all logic, they should be. New environments, new animatronics, and even new stories. On paper, we should be shivering the moment we press start, or rather at the design of the game. It is Five Nights at Freddy's after all. And by shivering, I'm not saying like being super scared, but still having that same feeling in the back of your mind of fear. But the reality is, most aren't. Sure, if you're brand new to the franchise, some of these games might still spook you, but for most longtime fans, something just feels off. Not gone, just different. And that's the key we really have to understand. The fear in FNAF didn't just vanish, disappear. The shape of it changed, and it's crucial to understanding how the franchise turned into what it is today. So grab your snacks and let me explain this. In FNAF 1, everything starts in a tiny office. It's cramped, it's quiet, and the ambience tells you immediately you're not alone here. I remember playing it for the first time, not with the Let's Play, and gosh, it was scary. Now, if I played it nowadays, it would be different, but back then it was way different. And honestly, that's where the real horror sat, right in that psychological space between safety and uncertainty. FNAF 2, FNAF 3, even the nightmare redesign of FNAF 4, they all leaned on that exact same pressure. Now fast forward to something like Secret of the Mimic, and you have free roam maps, chase sequences, open spaces, movement. The ambience still exists, and there's some form of fear or psychological horror still there, but it's just not the same. There are brighter colors, bigger environments, and higher production values. A totally different team with a totally different approach to the games, with some of Scott's input. And whether we like it or not, that shift changes how our brain processes the tension compared to 2014. Back in 2014, FNAF was built by a single developer. You could feel that raw, gritty indie DNA in every frame. even by the time we reached FNAF 6 and UCN, some of the last original entries in the series, that atmosphere was still alive. Not because the graphics were incredible or the lore was huge, but because those games targeted a very specific type of horror. Dark psychology, grounded realism, and pure uncertainty that engaged in fan theories. That combination created the unmistakable identity of early FNAF. And as the series adapted, bigger audiences, bigger production, and bigger expectations, pieces of that identity started to shift. Not vanish, not decay, just shift and change. And to really see what that shift meant for the series, you have to look at one of the most important places when it comes to understanding why we aren't afraid anymore, and that is the community. Truth is, after all this time, the community never stopped, and a large part of it is because of the lore. It's just really interesting, and there's a lot of mystery still left in the games, even the new ones. Even today, fans are still building their own FNAF-inspired games on places like GameJolt and itch.io, projects with incredible quality that bring back that exact fear FNAF used to deliver. Not all of them, but some of them do hit the nails. One of my favorites, even though it's older now, was The Joy of Creation. This was essentially a FNAF fan game at the time that was really popular during early FNAF, and introduced new concepts, a new story, and a thrilling demo, which has since developed into something really cool. That free roam mode where you had to evade Ignited Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy across different levels was amazing and terrifying at the same time. Playing the game, you were always tense, but the moment they spotted you, it was over. They'd sprint at you at ridiculous speeds, and the jump scare was brutally loud. But the important part was the entire time you just held that psychological thought in the back of your head. There was just something different about that horror game. And that's what FNAF could have felt like if the fear factor and the production value had evolved together, because truthfully, the game was ahead of its time. But again, this doesn't mean the official games were bad. I mean, I genuinely loved Secret of the Mimic, and even Help Wanted and Security Breach gave me that same sense of uncertainty. It wasn't the same type of fear, and I wasn't exactly scared, at least personally, but the free roam environments and the new characters still managed to transform the original formula into something different, something more modern. The stories were captivating, and I was genuinely hooked on where the lore would go, what secrets were hidden, and how the community tirelessly debated every theory. Sure, the lore is a mess, but that chaos is exactly why I love the FNAF community so much. In reality, the difference is small, but it changes everything. Early FNAF made you feel powerless. Every sound, flicker, every movement mattered because you couldn't control what was coming. And that's what kept your heart racing and your hands on the edge of the keyboard the entire time. Now the games give you space, tools, and patterns to follow. Free roam areas, chase mechanics, multiple objectives. The animatronics still chase you or linger, but they feel like part of a system instead of a threat you can't predict. You're essentially playing the game instead of the game trying to play you, if that makes sense. Me with my weird metaphors. Even the atmosphere has evolved. The colors are brighter, the environment's bigger, like I said, and the lighting is more cinematic. At least it looks that way. It honestly looks impressive, but that polish changes the tension quite a lot. The shadows no longer seem as dangerous, and they highlight the world around you, and your mind registers it differently. And the story, a lot of it is still unexplained, and we're still the ones stitching the pieces together. That part hasn't changed at all, but Steel Wool has given us far more chances to uncover those pieces inside the games themselves, unlike Scott's era where major mysteries were often left hanging until a future release, finally picking them up. So the truth is simple. The fear didn't vanish with FNAF, it just found a new form, one that doesn't hit the same way it did when FNAF first trapped us in those quiet, dark offices. But who knows? Maybe the future of FNAF will bring back some of the old feelings that we had with the early games. And if it does, it might change the series in ways none of us are expecting. Thank you so much for watching. Seriously, the support means a lot, and we already have 200 extra subscribers in under a month, which is insane. This means a lot to me, and if you guys enjoyed, consider watching this next video where I dive into how FNAF's broken lore saved the franchise. And as always, I'm Jeeps, and I'll see you next time.